Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for coming out here this morning. We know it's kind of like a rough trip to kind of make up to the federal courthouse, and it's always a little confusing to get downtown and find parking and everything. This is the part of the trial that we call Voire Dire, or jury selection. And as part of Voire Dire, we're going to, myself and my co-counsel, as well as our opposing counsels, we'll ask you a few questions about yourselves. And we're not trying to do this to be nosy or to pry into your own background or to make you feel uncomfortable. But as the judge stated, part of a fair trial in the United States is that we have a fair and impartial jury. And so we ask these questions in order for us to mold the fairest and most impartial jury that we can. If at any time any of these questions are uncomfortable to you, please feel free to just refuse to answer, and we'll move on. First of all, I'd like to say, do any of you know anyone present in this courtroom, personally? Just feel free to raise your hand on any of these questions. How many of you have participated as a juror before in a civil trial? And what sort of civil trial it was, ma'am? Miss Wade.
That they would taking the rights of children away from the parents.
And Miss Webb?
It was assault and battery.
Assault and battery. So it's very similar to this case, then. And how many of you have ever been sued or sued another person in court? Anyone? How many, any of you ever been involved in a criminal case? And so I'm assuming all of you are students at one university or another. So everyone's a student? Great. And how many of you are justice studies majors or political science majors of any kind? How many of you have bumper stickers on your car? It's a relevant question, I promise. Anyone have a bumper sticker on their car? Not at all? Do any of you all belong to sort of a civic organization? Or, and by civic organization I mean something that may or may not be political, but it's an important issue to you, so you've joined this organization to sort of help further that issue. Such issues could be a member of the ACLU or a member of the NRA, depending on the issue. Is anyone a member of any civic organization? I'd also like to talk for a minute about, and I know that my co-counsel will get into this a little bit further, a little bit about drinking. How many of you here drink at all, either socially or otherwise? Ms. Wise, have you ever been accused of drinking to excess?
No.
Do you think that one or two beers or drinks are fine?
Yeah.
So you would not say that you would be overly impaired with one or two drinks?
No.
And Ms. Fortescue, same question.
It's Fortescue.
Fortescue, I'm
That's
sorry.
Okay, I know it's ridiculously hard. No, I agree with her.
Great, and I'm sorry, the third person was Ms. Webb?
Correct.
Great, so you would say that maybe one or two drinks would be fine. That would not necessarily impair your ability to be a witness or to determine one.
I can't agree with that.
What would you say? What level of alcohol consumption would you say would impair your ability to understand the events happening before you?
Depends what you're drinking. Beer, of course, in Oklahoma is a lesser amount, so maybe 2 beers in Oklahoma, maybe, but I do think that it does impair you somewhat.
And Ms. Webb, were you able to receive, testimony here today in front of a plaintiff or any of the witnesses or defendants in this case who were drinking at the time? Because our situation at the present case, pretty much everyone was, it was a party and alcohol was involved. And although this is not necessarily the main issue of the case, it is sort of a peripheral issue. And the way you view alcohol may necessarily impact the way that you view this case. So, Ms. Webb, would you be able to look at the facts neutrally and come to a neutral decision? Yes. A fair and impartial decision, I suppose, to use that line. Now, do any of you have strong feelings about alcohol either way? So, would any of you think less of someone who would be drinking in this case, or any case for that matter? And finally, I'd just like to ask that do any of you have any problem rendering a fair and impartial verdict today? Do you feel biased in any way towards the plaintiff or the defendant's side? Thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce my co-counsel, Mr. Miller, for a few further questions.
Good morning. Thank